Is this a dream? Is this a dream within a dream? It's even better. You're now entering Dreamland. Hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Axler, and I am the host of Now Entering Dreamland, a podcast about dreams, sleep, and everything in between. Welcome back to those of you who have been to Dreamland before. We're happy to have you back, and welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. It's another Sunday, and I'm very happy because I get to release another interview-style episode of this podcast. And this interview is great because I got to interview one of my friends, Amanda Magnavita. Amanda is an actor, an improviser, a comedian, and a really cool person. And Amanda indicated that she was interested in helping me with this podcast, so I was thrilled. Amanda talked to me about dreams a few weeks into me starting this podcast and indicated that she has a history of having prophetic dreams, dreams in which she feels glimpses or sees glimpses of future events. So when she said that, I said, stop the presses, we need to get you on this podcast, and we did. So without further ado, here is a discussion about dreams, lucid dreaming, prophetic dreams, and everything else with Amanda Magnavita.
I have a history of lucid dreaming as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I can control what's going on in my dreams to a certain extent. It's actually kind of weird. I've read a few books about lucid dreaming, and your subconscious kind of has a mind of its own. So you can only really control it to a certain extent. It's kind of weird.
By a certain extent, how does that translate for you?
Okay, a few things. So first of all, sometimes for, certain situations, I might want to manifest a certain person, let's say, in my dream, right? But it actually gets really freaky because you really can't. If I try to manifest a certain person, sometimes the face will be all contorted, and I've had faces kind of melt, and it never ever winds up the way that I want it to. And it's never the person that I'm hoping for, even if it does look like them. It's almost like my mind is like, you can't do that, that's not cool. And so it just won't let me. Or I don't know, I'll have conversations with dream people, and it's it must be another part of my brain that I can't control, because I'm not controlling what they're saying at all. And I couldn't, even if I tried. It's a separate part of my brain, and they're talking to me. It's very
strange. My gosh.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that old saying where it's if you dream of someone, they're also thinking of you? Or do you think that's true at all? Or maybe that's just wishful thinking?
I wish that were true. Actually, with my ex, from 7 years ago, there were quite a few nights where I was okay, I'm going to dream of you tonight. You dream of me, and we'll meet in the dream world. It never happened.
Well, that's something I'm really fascinated about, because there is a lot, and I don't want to say a lot, there is some research that's done with soldiers in stressful situations, during wartime, who are all confined in a similar space, usually, unfortunately, a hospital situation, where there's reports of doctors sharing that their patients have entered each other's dreams in a very weird way, where and they found that out kind of by comparing notes, and they're my patient 1 had a dream that he and patient 2 were in a cafeteria together, and then patient 2's doctor would be what? Because patient 2 told me he had a dream about patient 1 in the cafeteria together. So there is some weird overlap that happens somehow. I don't know how that works, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I know some people claim, I've never experienced, see, here's the thing about lucid dreaming. If someone told me that they could do this, like I might be very skeptical. Like I'm in general like a skeptical person. So the fact that I've done it, I could be like, no, it is real. Like you can lucid dream, you can control your dreams to a certain extent. Like your dreams will feel like so real. You could become aware of yourself in your dreams. But some people I know believe that like you can astral project, and they truly like claim that this is possible. I have never done it or experienced anything even remotely like it. But I don't know, maybe that was what was going on with the soldiers.
Can we go really deep into this podcast?
Yes.
Because when I was a kid, when I was really young, like toddler age, I used to astral project. And it's something I cannot do it anymore. Like, I'm sure if I really thought about, I mean, who knows? Maybe not. I haven't tried to do it in years, but I used to. It's one of those things I think that as children, you don't know what's normal or abnormal, especially because for me, I'm an only child. So there's not even any other young people around for the first, several years of my life. And then it wasn't until, have you ever seen that movie Insidious?
No, I have not.
A big plot point of this movie is that the main child character who has all this haunted stuff happen to him, he astral projects. And that was the first time I heard that phrase, astral projection. And I was like, oh my God, I used to do that because when I was a toddler, I would have these elongated periods of time in which I would kind of like leave my body, and I could see myself sleeping in bed, but I would go into this other kind of state of consciousness that I called my cloud playroom because it looked like a room filled with clouds, like very Mary Poppins-esque. And I would kind of just chill up there, having a good time. And I'd also use it as like a place where whenever I had a nightmare, I would kind of leave the nightmare intentionally, and I would say, you know what? Screw this. I'm going into my cloud playroom and no one can come in here. And then whenever I wanted to leave the cloud playroom, I would envision myself, I would open this like special door in the playroom, and I would like drop down from the playroom back into my body, and then I would wake up. And I just
You were 2 and you remember this?
It was like toddler, like 3 to 5-ish, I would say.
Okay. It's like, whoa, you're like pre-memory. It's wow, that's bananas.
It's really, it's very vivid memories. And then I kind of just stopped doing it. And I remember after I saw Insidious, so this was in itself like 10 years ago, I said to myself, I'm going to try to do it again. And I don't know if I can't like get back into that. I don't know. It's been years. So
did you, and this all happened like while you were like sleeping?
I feel like in a state of sleep, like I wasn't quite asleep, but I wasn't quite awake either. Like some
in between state.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is kind of weird in its own, and on its own, that in between state between sleep and wakefulness.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very weird.
It really is. It's disorienting.
Yeah. I know there's like a bunch of methods for lucid dreaming, but a lot of them have to do with like using that state like of in between to like kind of transition yourself into the lucid dream. And there's lots of like different techniques you can do that have to do with that state specifically.
Oh, ooh, okay.
Weird. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. And I'm wondering, because I know one of the most effective ways to lucid dream, and actually, I don't know if you know this, but like kids lucid dream more than adults. And as you get older, you lucid dream less and less and less.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the way that I have found in the past, I probably should have been using this whole quarantine time to be doing this. I like told myself I would do it, but I just wound up not doing it. Is just to be like super mindful, like to be as mindful as humanly possible during your waking life, and to constantly ask yourself, like, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Like at multiple times during the day, and really like look around and assess your surroundings, and really like assessing, is this a dream? Is this a dream? And then that's the most effective method I found as an adult. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
wondering if you, in your waking life, if you want to return to the cloud place, the cloud room, right? The cloud
The
room,
cloud playroom.
cloud playroom, the cloud
Yeah.
playroom. Like if you, during your waking life, maybe thought of it, and like, am I there? Am I in the cloud playroom? Am I in the cloud playroom? And then when you're asleep, maybe you'll think that and be like, no, but I'm going to go to the cloud playroom.
This is a good idea. I do want to try it. I feel like, in a way, though, maybe I'm a little bit scared because it sounds like it could be a little bit disorienting. Like, I feel like there's already, because also, are you a person, do you daydream? Because I sometimes will go on these daydream, like, jaunts where I mean, not for a very long time, but for 10 minutes, I'll kind of just be off on my own little
Right.
planet.
When I was younger, I daydreamed a lot. Like I had like elaborate like storylines. Actually, before I went to sleep every night too, I would, I guess, sort of daydream, and I would have like continuing storylines,
Ooh, okay.
like very elaborate. Like I remember one of them, it was like there was like a mermaid situation.
Nice.
That's all I remember though. But not as much as an adult. I feel like as an adult, I like ruminate or like I don't know, just think about stupid stuff. Like I don't like what do you daydream about? Like do you have like fun fantasy worlds? Like yeah.
I wish I did. Mostly I just I've always wanted to go to Las Vegas. This is like the place I want to go, like more than anywhere, and it's relatively attainable for me to get there, but I just haven't been. So for a lot of times I'm just like, I can't wait to go to Las Vegas, and then I'll like picture it in my mind. But I think I have a very kind of like Miss Maisel version of Las Vegas, which, like in the 1960s, when I was run by the mob. Like, I think I'm picturing that, which is much different, I know, than actual Las Vegas of today.
Right. It's like a lot of like fake boobs and way too drunk people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's interesting though. I kind of like that though. I kind of like that it is like literally like a dream of what could be possible. You know, I love that. Like taking time of your day to think about that. I don't do that ever. So maybe I should start.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's quite nice thinking about Las Vegas.
Yeah, that sounds so nice. I don't even know what I would think about. Oh God, I guess I have to think about something to get hopeful for.
I did also, when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, I spent a lot of time, like, this was early into my gameplay before I realized where the story was going, but I spent so much time just being like, I would love to be with a group of people just living outdoors, doing what they did, like setting up a camp, riding a horse through a field, like hunting, and then of course the group disbands and falls apart, and it turns very murderous, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm glad to not be living this reality. But the idyllic part of it just really played to my like better nature. I was like, I would love to just be with a group of people like this.
And you would daydream about that sometimes.
Yes, yeah.
I guess I don't really date. Maybe like before bed. I'm a big fan of Critical Role, the D&D show with all the voice actors, and I guess sometimes before bed I'll like, very rarely, but sometimes like imagine myself like in the story, like going on adventures. And this is like a side tangent, but that show in general, I think, just brings me back to when I was like very young. Like reminds me of like Saturday morning cartoons. Like sometimes I'll like stand up and when like in the battle and I'll like be like waving a sword with them. It's very silly, but I really feel like a kid while watching it. It's super fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think. There was something else you said earlier that I reminded me of something, but I forget.
That's okay. So what are some things that you've dreamed about recently?
Recently, gosh, you know, that's weird. I haven't been writing down my dreams. I have had some dreams recently, but I didn't write them down, and they were quite clear and vivid, but I don't remember. Oh God, yesterday I had like a really stupid dream that isn't very interesting, but basically I had a dream where I was at like a taco place and it was like a serve yourself bar at the taco place. And I was like, it was definitely like a COVID informed dream, because I was very much like, I don't know if this is safe. Like, I don't know if I can do like the serve yourself taco bar. And literally right as I had that thought, this like child like stuck her hand in the cheese. And I was just like, no. And I think I was like shouting like at the general vicinity. I was like, no, I can't do the taco place. I can't do the taco place.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
That's very funny.
I ran out of there. I feel like I've had more interesting dreams recently. I had a few dreams during quarantine where I'm flying from like house to house, and like I think trying to like break into people's houses, not in like a bad way, but just as more like a what's going on in here type of way. And sometimes I have been lucid in those moments.
Okay.
And like sometimes I'll like land on the roof and jump from roof to roof.
That's cool.
Yeah. I definitely need to make more of an effort to, I think, lucid dream during this time, because it's really fun. You know, it's fun eating stuff in dreams.
I don't think I've done that ever.
Oh my God. It's so much fun. Oh my gosh. It is so much fun.
What is fun about it?
Because the taste is just so rich. It's almost like hyper real. That's the weird thing about dreams too. Dreams, especially when they're lucid, can be like hyper real. Like they feel realer than reality. And that's kind of like, I think one time I had like a blueberry muffin in a dream, and the taste of it was just so blueberry. Like, oh, it was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
I do like a good blueberry muffin, so.
Yeah. No, it was very good. Let's see. I did have another funny dream in quarantine, and I won't say the names of everyone because they may be listening to this podcast and it's embarrassing. But I had a dream that I was at a party with some improv people. It was actually my birthday party.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And
when is your birthday?
What?
When is your birthday?
February 2nd.
Okay, cool.
You're in February too, right?
January 24th.
January 24th. Okay, I knew you were like Aquarius, right? Or Aquarius. Yeah. Yeah. So I was in. So it was my birthday in the dream. Is it like a lot of improv people were there, and it was. I was very drunk in the dream.
Oh.
And I really was like, I don't know, again, this is like a whole nother topic, but like doing like drugs or like, in any form in dreams, fascinating experience. But I was drunk in the dream, and I felt drunk. Very clearly I was inebriated, like quite drunk. And there was this guy we were all like chilling on like this roof. And there was this guy on the roof, and I don't know what to say, Stacey. Like, I'm a lesbian, but I was very drunk, and I do have a history in my past of like being like a bit of a makeout slut, like making out with everyone. Not in like very recent history, like 10 years ago, and 10 years and then before, makeout slut, big makeout slut, everyone. But in this dream, I asked this guy, I was like, "Do you want to make out with me?" I was like so drunk, and he was like, "No, like I have a girlfriend," and I was like, fine. And this other rando who like I actually was just like a random dream person was like, "I'll make out with you," and I was like, "No, you don't have lesbian vibes," and I just like stormed away.
Oh my gosh.
And then I like spent the rest of the dream trying to get girls to make out with me, and I don't remember if I was successful or not. Whatever. I woke up from that dream and I was like, what the hell was that?
Oh my god.
Drunk Amanda is what it was. Oh man. So that was another funny recent dream I had. Have you had any recent dreams?
I've had some memorable dreams recently. I had one where I was at a party, but it was like an old-fashioned style party. Like everyone was wearing, or like it was very formal. Like everyone was wearing formal wear, and it was obviously pre-COVID time. And I did not recognize anyone there, but it just felt very like freeing to be in a room with other people. And it really did make me think about just that kind of lifestyle that's no longer really available, just in terms of like even going into bars and like being like really smushed up against like other people and not even worrying about it. And it's like just being like, well, okay, like we're just trying to push our way to the front of this bar to order a drink, and it was just like
sips from other people's drinks. Remember that?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. It's so that in and of itself, now I think I'd be appalled, but I really did used to like grab cups from other people, and it's like, can I have a sip of this? And they they would say, okay, sure, and I'd be like, great, thank you. Oh my gosh. I used to also, I would take the metro into work, and then sometimes I would eat breakfast with my hands, and like a breakfast sandwich, and like just the thought of doing that, like, leaving my apartment, going on the metro, leaving the metro, going into a place to order breakfast, getting my breakfast, going to the office, and just eating with a sandwich with my hand. Like, I'm just like, what have you done, Stacey? Like, how are you even alive?
I used to eat breakfast with my hands. Oh my God. That's funny you say that, because at work, because I have to go into work, I know my environmentalist friends would be very upset with me, but I bring my food like in plastic sandwich baggies, and I open the bag and eat it like through the bag, almost like using the bag as like a glove.
As a buffer, yeah.
I'm like, listen, this has to be acceptable during this time. Like, I need to use the plastic bag as a glove.
Exactly. Keeping things vacuum packed and sealed.
Wow.
I also had a series of dreams, and this was about 2 or 3 months ago now, but I like remember them because they were so weird. And in the dream, I would go to a drive-in, and I've never been to a drive-in movie in my life, but I think I've always wanted to go. So I would go into a drive-in, and I would be watching a movie play out while I was sitting in the drive-in. So it was kind of like I was entering into two states of consciousness almost. Like I knew that I was watching a movie, but I would be the dream would be playing out through the movie. And they would always be these terrible like horror movies in which someone was kidnapped or someone was in like grave danger. And sometimes I would while this movie was playing out, I'd be like, I have to pee or I need to get snacks. And I would like go and get snacks, and I'd come back and resume the movie. It was something else. It was something else.
Wait, so like it was you watching the movie, but then the movie was also the dream as well.
Yes, yeah.
That's cool. I love when that happens in dreams.
It was I've never experienced that before, except during COVID time, and it was very, very interesting for me to do that. And it seemed very like atmospheric as well. Like I could like the sensations, like the aroma of like popcorn, I feel like I could like kind of like smell it. But then like I couldn't really like see anyone's like faces very clearly, but it was like dark, so like it kind of made sense. Like, I don't know, it was something else.
You ever try to read something in a dream? You can't read.
Yes, I've heard that you can't read, you can't interpret like you can interpret language, but you can't read it. Or
it's like if you try to read something, it's like all blurry. And that's been my experience, and that's what I've read. I've read that as well, that like it's impossible to read.
Yeah, it's like the thing that reads language on your brain is turned off during sleep. So
I guess that's good though, because it's doing all other sorts of cool things like dual consciousness, like what you had. That is cool. You know what's also crazy? And tell me because I have known someone who this happened to, and I've read that this has happened to people too. I don't know if you've experienced it or also heard of other people experiencing it. People who have a dream where they feel like they have lived an entire lifetime, and then they wake up and like it's like a shock. Like it's like a shock to the system. Like I had a friend who had a dream that she had like a whole life. Like she had a wife, she had a house, they had kids, they had pets, and like they literally lived their whole life together. And it felt so real. And she woke up and like cried because she felt like she had like really like lost like her life.
Yeah.
But I've read of other people like experiencing that too. Like on Reddit, I've read of other people experiencing that as well. And I'm always like curious, but also very afraid to have a similar dream.
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where like I kind of want it to happen. Just why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Have another life under my belt, you know, come back for this one more than the last, but you know.
That reminds me a lot of that movie. Have you seen Inception?
Oh yes, I love Inception.
I love that movie too, and it kind of reminds me about how like they had that kind of other life in their dream world that they created, and then when they realized they needed to leave, they just didn't want to leave because they were so happy in their kind of fake life.
Right, right. And then at the end, you're not sure if they're in the fake life or the real life.
Yeah.
Yes. Ah, man, that is
good movie.
Great movie. Oh, it's so good. Well, it's weird because going back to what I was saying earlier about how the best way to lucid dream is to be mindful during the day and be like, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming?
Yes.
Dreaming. And then sometimes you'll have moments where it's like, I know I'm not dreaming, but like, is this a simulation? Like, what is this? Is this a dream of some other consciousness that I don't know? It gets too deep.
No, it really does. And I remember when I was in high school, I actually had a lot of like struggle, like when I used to have really, really bad nightmares, kind of from my late teens to my like mid 20s, and I don't have them so much anymore, but I used to have very bad night terrors. And so I would kind of go on this like track of, if I was in a disturbing dream, I would say, okay, like if I'm dreaming, I'm going to hit myself, and if I can't feel it, that means I'm in a dream. And most of the time that would work pretty well, except there was this one day that I started hitting my arm with my hand, and it hurt really bad. So I was like, oh my gosh, unfortunately, this is reality. And it was like a terrible dream. But what I did not realize is I was so close to being conscious, I guess. I actually was hitting my arm, and I woke up and my arm was like bright red. Like I just like hit it so hard and so violently. And it was like literally like hand marks were all over my arm. And I was like, oh, that's why it hurt so bad.
Whoa.
It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. I have night terrors too sometimes. I feel like I don't remember the worst of them, which is for the best.
Yes.
But one time when I was little, like 12, my friend, who was a liar, but I don't think she was lying about this because it's a weird thing to lie about, and it sounds like it could have happened. She claims that in the middle of the night, I tried to like beat her up.
Oh
that is what she claims. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like yelling my name and like, and now I'm like afraid now. I mean, I'm single, so like, you know, in case anyone's listening. So like, I don't have to worry about this, but I'm always like, oh my God, like my previous partner, like she didn't say I ever tried to beat her up. She would like hear my night terrors sometimes, but like,
yes.
Now I'm just like, I hope that never happens again. Like, is that something I have to be concerned about? Like, you know?
No, I've experienced that too. Like once
You're a sleepwalker, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. There was this one day that I was on a trip to New York for the Del Close Marathon to see improv, and I was sharing, we were all in this like there was about 8 of us in a 2-bedroom Airbnb. So it was very like cramped living. And the group, I was one of the last ones there, but the group was like, Stacy, you can sleep in one of the beds. And I was like, oh, that's so kind. But I was sleeping with, this other person. And in the middle of the night on the second day, I like called out his name like very violently. Like I was like, Justin. And like I said, like with like a lot of like force in my voice. And he was like, I was afraid you were like ready to attack. And I was like, I probably was like my share of in my sleep state, I've called out things. Like I've been like, stop it. And then like another person will wake up and be like, you just yelled, stop it. What's going on? And I was like, I don't know. And then there was this one day back when the person I was living with had a cat. I guess I was like thrashing around in my sleep because the cat started like rubbing her body up against me, and it like woke me up, and I was like, oh, did I disturb you? And she was like, it was a very sweet animal bonding moment of like, oh, this cat was worried about my well-being.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was really cute. She was just like using her head to try to like wake me up, and I was like, oh, sweet, sweet angel.
I've actually had 2 traumatic experiences with cats while I was sleeping.
Oh my God, tell me.
The first and the lesser of the 2 was there was this cat. My friend warned me that his cat was really mean, and I was sleeping on his floor on like this mattress, and I had a blanket above on me, and the cat was like sleeping on top of me when I woke up, like on top of my chest. And it was freezing. So I like tried to like pull the blanket like up, and that cat like actually like attacked my arm, like attacked it, like it scratched it and like tried to bite it. It luckily didn't break skin. And like, then I just had to like sit there for the rest of the night, like just uncomfortable because I didn't want to mess with this cat. I was like on vacation. I did not have the time to like go to the doctor if it like actually bit me. It's like, all right, cat, like you win. And then another situation that I have with a cat was this cat like that sleeping over my friend's house, and they were cat sitting, and this cat like kept trying to like cuddle with me in the middle of the night, but it kept waking me up. So finally I just like gently like pushed it off the bed.
Oh no.
And all of a sudden it started zooming around the whole room. I've never seen anything like this, Stacey. It was one of the most intimidating things I've ever experienced. It started zooming around the room at full speed, went around the room about 5 to 10 times, and then immediately ran to its litter box, which was in the same room as me, and took a shit. It was one of the most intimidating things that's ever happened to me. I was like, this cat is crazy. And Stacey, I don't know how or why this made sense, but in the middle of the night, this is what the solution to that problem was. Because I was like, I'm not going to be in the same room with this cat. Like, I can't. Like, this cat is crazy. Like, who knows what it's capable of? So I slept on my friend's kitchen floor, which was right next to the living room where I had been sleeping. But I didn't want the cat to come in, so I took off all of his like cushions off of his multiple couches. I put pillows, and I like blockaded the open doorway. And my friend woke up the next morning to find me like sleeping on the hard kitchen floor with like the smallest pillow, because I needed all the big ones for the blockade, and like this like very small blanket. And he was like, Amanda, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Yeah.
So I don't mess around with cats when I'm sleeping. Honestly.
No, I hear ya. I do get worried about that too. Like, I remember a few years ago, I was staying over at a friend's house, and we were planning this like goodbye party for another friend who was also staying at the same house. And so basically it was presented to us, okay, there's 2 options. One of you can sleep upstairs on the couch, and one of you can sleep downstairs, and we have like a pull-out bed. I was like, I'll sleep downstairs. So I like went downstairs, but I did not know this at the time, but their cat also slept downstairs. So kind of in the middle of the night. And you know, I sleep with the lights on, so I like left one light on, I kind of curled up, went to sleep. And then in the middle of the night, I heard like a floof. And I was like, what? Because I didn't grow up with pets, so I'm not used to that pets move around at night. So then I kind of like turned, and then the cat was just kind of chilling on my bed, and I was like, oh, hi. I was like, go. Go. And I kept trying to push it. And it thought I was playing with it. So then it was like curling up around me, and I was like, no, stop it. But it was so like, I wasn't upset about it, but it was just like one of those things. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. good night. And like I like tried to like curl up, but then like it kept trying to get into my space, and I was like, this isn't working. Oh my
See,
God.
I don't even believe that cat thought you were playing. Like, I feel like that cat knew exactly what they were doing. Like,
Probably. So, for dreams, I remember when we first talked about this a few weeks ago, you said that you sometimes have dreams that are like I'm not articulating it well, but are maybe glimpses of the future. And I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. And again, I'm skeptical, right? Like, if someone told me this, I would be like, yeah, okay, like you have prophetic dreams. Sure. Yeah. Okay. And I probably wouldn't believe them. But I have had dreams. Basically, I'll have dreams sometimes, and I'll wake up and I'll say, like, that was prophetic. Like, that's gonna come true. Like, I know that's going to come true. And it's weird. Like, it's not they're not necessarily different from any other dreams. Like, it's not like they're more clear or more lucid or anything like that. They often are pretty lucid, but I just wake up and I just know that, like, they are gonna come true. There's been a few instances in my life where that has happened, and a few where like I've woken up and they've been prophetic, and like it hasn't happened yet, but like I have a strong feeling that it will.
Okay.
So like just one example was like I had a dream where I dreamt of 3 black dogs. My roommate at the time had a black dog, and I dreamt that there was 3 of him. And I woke up from that dream, and immediately I got the sense that it was prophetic. And I was like, okay, well, like, what does that mean?
Right.
You know, what does that mean? And I was like, okay, 3 dogs, black dogs. Black dogs typically mean like death, right? It's like an omen of death, like in Harry Potter, like the Grimm.
Yes.
I was like, okay, so like there's going to be 3 deaths. And I am not exaggerating, Stacey. I turn over from coming to this conclusion, grab my phone, look at my phone, and it's a message from one of the families I babysit for saying, hey, Amanda, we just want to let you know that our dog died. So we're getting a new puppy this summer. So you're going to have to take care of the puppy. And I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. That's crazy. That I literally just said that, and now it's already happening. 2 days later, my uncle texted me telling me his like beloved dog died. Like absolutely beloved dog died. And I was like, okay, like my aunt and uncle's like dog is like super old. Like I bet he's gonna pass away. Like it'll be like 3 deaths in a week. 2 days later, that Friday, disturbing, not a dog, it was like way more disturbing and sadder. An acquaintance of mine, like I would have hung out with like a bunch of times, really, really loved her. She was so funny. Actually committed suicide. It was like within that week, like 3 deaths happened. It was
terrible.
Creepy. It was super duper creepy. That was a small one, and there's a few other small ones, but the biggest one, the craziest one, was I was going through this period of my life where I really wanted to learn how to farm. I was just like, yeah, like I want to be like self-sustainable, like I want to learn how to make my own food. And I was thinking about like going like woofing or something. So it was during this process, like looking up different farms to go to, I had this dream or nightmare really, where I was like running through a farmhouse and I was just panicked, like absolutely panicked. Like I don't know what was wrong. I don't know what was happening, but I just kept running and running through the different rooms, and like I couldn't get out. And I woke up from that dream and I was like, that was prophetic. Like I can't go to a farm. Like I can't go to a farm anymore. Like something really bad is going to happen to me if I go on a farm. So I like canceled those plans. Which again sounds bananas, but I really trust myself when I have these dreams, for sure. And a few months later, like maybe like 4 to 6 months later, after having this dream, this family that I had babysat for years, like 3 years, they were like, hey, Amanda, do you want to come to our parents' farm for the weekend and like babysit the kids? And like, you know, you'll have so much time off. Like you could just like have fun and just explore the farm or whatever. And I was like, immediately thought of the dream. And I was like, well, I've known this family for years. Like, nothing bad is going to happen to me on that farm. Like, that was the farm, the strange farm, like the woofing farm that I was thinking about. Like, nothing bad's going to happen to me on this farm. Like, no way. Like, absolutely not. So I go with the family to the farm, and the first weird funny thing that happened was that they were like, okay, Amanda, like, you're going to sleep in the barn. And I was like, okay. And it actually turned out to be like a really nice like loft, like apartment loft that they like redid the upper part of the barn. And it was like actually really beautiful. And then the bottom part of the barn, like there were no animals. They had like a pool table, like it was unfinished, but it was really nice. And I was still like, that's kind of weird though. Like I was like, are they putting me so far away from the main house? Because it was like so far away from the main house. I was like, are they doing that because I'm the help or because they think like I would like my own space? Like I was like, okay, like this is weird, but okay. So the first day I have a great time. Like I go to sleep, like that's Friday night, nothing happens. It's totally fine. And keep in mind, by the way, that because of my dream, every single night before I go to sleep, I check around the entire apartment and I lock the door. Because I'm still like a little on edge that I had this dream, don't go to a farm, and I went to a farm. So Friday night's fine. Saturday night, I go to sleep. I know I lock the door, I check everything. And I am awoken in the middle of the night by the sound of a fire alarm going off. I jump out of bed, run into the living room, and the fire alarm is hanging from a wire, maybe 2 to 3 feet from the ceiling.
Oh my God.
And the fire alarm is going off.
Oh my God.
Now I am in like fight or flight mode. So I fly out the door. And to this day, Stacy, I do not know if the door was locked or not still. Because I was in such a panic, like I don't remember if I unlocked it or if the door was just opened. So I'm run out of the barn. I am running by the light of the moon, bare feet, to the main house. And it was so far. And I still remember this like long panicked run to the main house. And I get to the main door and I stop and I'm like, oh my God, holy shit. Like, I don't know these grandparents. Like, we're in the middle of like rural Maryland. Like, I don't know if they have guns. Like, I don't know if they're gonna think I'm an intruder. But I was like, all right, like I just got to go in. Like I got to let someone know that the fire alarm's going off and that it's hanging from the ceiling.
Right.
Okay. So luckily the first room I went into was the kids' room. And I was like, like I don't want to scare them. I was like, hey, like everything's fine. Like the fire alarm is just going off. Like, can you let me know where mom and dad's room is? And luckily like one of them was like 12. So he's like, yeah, sure. So he shows me their room. And so I like wake up the mom and dad and I'm like, hey, like, I know it was so awkward. I was like, hey, like really sorry to wake you, but the fire alarm is going off in the barn. And they're both like totally out of it, like delirious. They probably had like several glasses of wine, like maybe more than several the night before. God. And the dad is just like, it's fine, Amanda, it's fine. Like, just shut it off. Like I was just like waiting there and I was like, okay. So I literally, Stacey, like run back out of the house, run back across the field barefoot by the light of the moon. I go back into the apartment. The fire alarm is still going off. It's still hanging from the ceiling. I get like a vase and like go around like by myself and look around like every like nook and cranny, like ready to like hit someone. And after a few minutes of doing that, luckily the dad came.
Oh,
and yeah, and he like helped me like turn off the fire alarm and like he couldn't get it back in the ceiling. He tried, and he was like, yeah, sorry about that, like it should be okay now, like just head on back to bed. And honestly, I'm shocked that I was able to do this, but I actually did go on back to bed.
Oh wow, okay.
To this day I do not know how I accomplished that feat. That's
I don't know.
Very weird part of the story that I was able to go back to bed after that. But so yeah, so the next morning, you know, the next day went fine, like everything's fine. There was this couple that lived on the farm that like helped out with things. And they were like, yeah, like, don't worry about the fire alarm tonight, Amanda. Like, the couple took a look at it and they fixed it. I was like, okay. So I go to sleep that night. That was Sunday night. And everything was fine. Nothing went wrong. Like, it was all good. So that morning, I headed back to DC with the parents. They drove me back, and the kids stayed behind with their grandparents. And right when the parents dropped me off, I like headed on over to another babysitting gig that I was babysitting. I was babysitting for a family all day. So when I get out of that babysitting gig at like 3 or 4, I have like 7 missed calls.
Oh my God.
And I call, and it was the mom of the family that I was sitting for at the farm. And I was like, what the hell? So I called her back, and she was like, Amanda, we're not blaming you. Like, we just need like some information from you, like what you saw, like what you noticed. And I was like, what? Like, what happened? And she was like, the barn burned down. She was like, it burned down within 30 minutes. Like, it burned to the ground. Like, there was literally nothing left. Like, there was a barn, and then there was like flat scorched earth, she said. And like the kids like saw it, like they were on like the lake
Oh my gosh.
by the barn, and they like saw it all burning down. Like, they were all in like a kayak. Yeah, and like a week later, like I had to give a statement to the fire marshal. Which actually there's like another weird part to this story, actually, because during that time between hearing the barn burn down and giving the statement to the fire marshal, I like went to the beach and got this really bad burn on my hands, just my hands. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, this is really weird. Like, this doesn't look like a sunburn at all. Like, this looks like a chemical burn.
God.
And I was actually kind of pissed with the family because I felt like they didn't pay me enough for the weekend. So I was like, oh my God, like, am I a witch? Like, did I like psychically burn the barn down as revenge for not being paid enough? This. And like the evidence like was like this like second degree, because it was a second degree burn on my hand. Like, I had a big like bubble on my hand. Years later, I found out it was probably from cutting limes and going into the sun, because like this are phototoxic and can cause chemical burns when you go into the sun. But I showed up for the statement for the fire marshal with a bandage wrapped around my hand. Like, it was so awkward. It was so awkward.
My God.
Oh my God. And I like the family opened the door, and I was like, hi, like waving with my bandaged hands. And I was like, it's a sunburn. It's a sunburn. I was like very defensive.
Oh my God.
And I asked one of the kids, I saw them years later. I was like, did you ever find out what happened to the barn? And they were like, no, we have no idea what happened to it. Like,
oh my God. That's crazy.
It was crazy. It was a crazy story.
So what do you think happened? Like, because in my mind, it seems almost like, and I don't know these people, but like when you said that there were like a couple that was working on the farm helping with stuff, that honestly sounds like people in a horror movie where it's like, I don't know, my money is on the people who worked on the farm helping with stuff.
Yes, I know. I was like trying to like figure out the mystery, because like, obviously the kid isn't going to tell me all the details. The parents probably didn't have to tell him all the details, but it sounds like an accelerant was used, because it's kind of odd and unusual for, first of all, a structure to burn down in 30 minutes. Second of all, to it like be burned to like scorched earth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I suspected the couple. I thought maybe like something happened for like insurance purposes, or I don't know, maybe they had like an enemy. I don't know. They're really rich. Like, rich people have enemies, right? I don't know.
That's true. Man, that's something else.
Yeah. And I wonder if the person who tried to burn down the barn, if there were allegedly, Stacy, if someone did come down to burn down the barn, I wonder if they were taking the fire alarm out that night, and that's why it was hanging by a wire. and maybe they heard me or like realized that I was there, so they like ran.
Oh shit.
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's what I'm wondering. So
Oh my god.
I don't know.
That's horrifying.
Because it was weird that like it burned right as I left, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, thank God you're okay and the family was okay. Like, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's something else.
Yep. So I take my dreams seriously. I take my dreams very, very seriously.
And there you have it. That was an interview about prophetic dreams with Amanda Magnavita. Thank you, Amanda. If you like this podcast, if you enjoyed what you listened to, well, you are in luck because we have a subscribe button. You can visit us on nowenteringdreamland.com and subscribe, so all of these episodes will be emailed to you when they're released. There's also other very interesting, in my opinion, things on the website, like I keep my dream journal there, so if you want other Dreamland content, I recommend going to the website. You're now leaving Dreamland, but we'll see you next time.